Hi ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining me. I may be a bit late to the party, but this is a sad day because after 3 videos praising the Nikon Z8, I've realised I can't ignore the elephant in the room any longer. You see, there's a lot of talk at the moment about the 2 Z8 recalls. The first one, which appeared a month after its release, was because early bird customers have found their lens can't be turned enough for it to click or lock securely. I personally haven't got a problem with the Z8, so I can't tell whether it's the catch isn't linking correctly or the user thinks it's secure and it isn't, but interestingly the Z9 had a recall for a similar reason, so it appears that the Z8 hasn't just inherited the Z9's power and speed, it's also got an occasional genetic fault too. The Z9 actually had a habit of not letting go of the lens, and once again it seemed that only the early batches were affected. The second cause of the Nikon recall was announced by Nikon themselves in August. It involves these little lugs or eyelets that the strap attaches to. Those lugs aren't as secure as they should be, and they can become unattached. And whilst I totally sympathise with anyone who has to watch their pride and joy bouncing off down the road because one of these has given away, I must say I've never really trusted those lugs. But if they're designed to take the weight off both camera and lens, I can see why people do trust them. After all, there's even a page in the manual dedicated to attaching the strap to them. So they really need to be secure, don't they? I say I don't use them, so what do I use? Well, to explain that, I need to take you back to a long time ago when I was starting gig photography. I was always trying different ways of securing both my cameras, but at the same time keeping them both accessible. One day I was sporting my latest experiment when one of the more experienced photographers came over and offered to show me his harness. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds. What he actually showed me was this. It's made by a company called Black Rapid. I'll just put that down. And whilst it isn't exactly cheap, at around £130, but if I'm carrying around 5 or 6 grand's worth of gear, I just can't entrust it to those little lugs. 5 or 6 grand, you say? It may sound too much, but it's really easy enough to reach. And I tell you, don't think too much about your current camera and lens would cost to replace. You'll probably never take them out in public again. Just don't even think about it. But you see why I'm pretty obsessive about the safety of my cameras within reason. Which is why I tend to use this, as I say. It comes with these little D-rings here. You screw one of these into the tripod thread into the base plate, which incidentally is an area designed for load bearing, so it's stronger already. They then attach to the harness via these little clips that also screw up, and it makes it all pretty secure. I never advise any of my customers to carry a camera and lens around, only by the camera strap and these lugs, and I hate to say it, but it looks like I was right for once. Now, I must admit, when I walk around wearing my harness, people do look, whether it's because I look like something out of Special Forces or just plain special, I don't really know, but it keeps my cameras safe and that's all I care about. Now, while the anti-Nikon photographers out there are using this recall as some kind of stick with which to beat any good reputation away from the Z8, let me put it into some kind of perspective. Because it affects a relatively small number of cameras given the amount sold. I actually contacted Nikon for their input and, well, I'm still waiting, which is a bit disappointing. I'll let you know if I get anything. But as I say, it's affected a small but understandably disappointed percentage of otherwise satisfied customers. There's a blog by a fantastic photographer called Dan Carr where he talks honestly about his experience with the recall, with none of the dramas that I've read in other reports. I'll leave a link below and you can read it. It's well worth a read. Anyway, I think we can all agree it shouldn't have happened. But however many lab technicians and lucky chosen few, I wasn't one of them, that tested the Z8, there's nothing like the mass testing that takes place once we, the customers, actually get our hands on the cameras. Almost infinite scenarios start playing out around the world, and so yes, it shouldn't happen, but it does. And Nikon seem to be doing their best to deal with it. For those that clicked the link and discovered that their camera was one of the batch included and then sent it off for an update, both problems are being dealt with at the same time, which explains any slight delay. I truly hope that this won't put people off getting the Z8 because it's still a great camera. So in my next video, I'm going to test some of the myths and gripes about it to see if they're true. And if you don't want to miss that and you haven't subscribed already, well, you better do it, hadn't you? Anyway, I wonder if Nikon will have replied by then. Anyway, thank you very much, and I will see you soon. Thank you, bye.